Hey everybody, Kenny here. In this video we're going to be introduced to the sword for hire from Ionia, Yasuo. Something I want to comment on about Yasuo before getting into his actual moveset is that I feel, unlike Ilaoi and Braum, Yasuo was very misrepresented with his party introduction plate, I guess. In it just lists him as having the damage roll, which doesn't make sense compared to the way that they introduced Ilaoi and Braum. For Ilaoi, she was listed as having the damage roll, even though her only real damage dealing skill, at least from the start of the game, isn't really a hugely effective damage skill. I mean, it's decent, it's better than her regular attack, but it isn't a massively powerful skill, and yet she gets the damage roll just for having a skill that lets her deal damage, and Braum gets credited as being a disruptor and a buffer because he has skills that allow him to apply damage shields and skills that move the enemies back on the timeline. But Yasuo actually has a party-wide buff that he can apply as one of his instant skills, and he's able to knock back the entire enemy lineup on the timeline, but he doesn't get the buffer roll or the disruptor roll, which I don't get that. I mean, yeah, sure, he's definitely a damage dealing unit. He definitely deals more damage and has the capabilities of dealing more damage than Ilaoi and Braum. But it's strange that they count him as only having that role when, just like the other two, he has greater capabilities than just that one thing. It's strange. I really like if they're gonna do that, they should have just said that Ilaoi was just a healer and that Braum was just a defender. Because, like, if you're going to just pigeonhole this one character and not do it for the others, it doesn't make any sense. Very strange choice. Being that, like, it's not like as he levels up, he gets access to these other things. As soon as you get him, he has the ability to disrupt and buff right from the get-go. It's a very weird choice. While out on the field, Yasuo is able to use his dungeon ability, Tornado Slash, to not only damage enemies to initiate combat while reducing their haste rating, but also if there is a poison cloud hazard or some kind of hazard that's in a cloud-like form, then his Tornado Slash can also disrupt that. And if there happens to be a dungeon interactable, then he could use his Tornado Slash to activate whatever the thing is, kind of like in the Tales games with, the like fire rings and stuff. While in combat, Yasuo's main mechanics are centered around his ability to perform critical hits. So, due to him passively receiving bonuses to his critical hit chance, he actually deals less critical hit damage than the other characters. But the reason for this is that anytime Yasuo performs a critical hit, he has many upgrades to his various skills that work off of his crits. He has a passive benefit called Flow that makes it that each time he crits, he receives a stack of flow, and if he were to get hit, then instead of taking direct damage, he would have a damage shield based on the number of stacks of flow he has, giving him some self-preservation ability. He's also the only one of the characters that receives a defensive ability that directly affects a certain damage type. So with the others, Braum just flat reduces damage by the highest amount by default, whereas Ilaoi has the highest potential defensive capability, since her defense skill increases based on the number of tentacles she has available. But for Yasuo, like, you can't really increase how good his defense is, What you can increase is how much he's capable of reducing ranged hits. But for whatever reason, he specifically is good against projectiles, which I assume specifically refers to, like, you know, when you have enemies that are using firearms or enemies that are casting like bolts of magic type things. And I think it's because all of his stuff is based around like storms and lightning and things. So I guess it's supposed to be like he is diverting projectiles because of all the wind stuff that's part of his kit. Also, by using his overcharge building instant skill, Yasuo also gains stacks of Steel Tempest, which once he has built up enough of those stacks, allow him to use certain abilities for free, which makes him an incredibly effective unit for dealing damage and disrupting enemies. As far as synergies go, pretty much just about allowing Yasuo to do what he does without getting hit. So if he gets hit, have Alawi heal him. If you want to make sure he doesn't get hit, make sure Braum is defending, because he is a squishy boy. Stat-wise, obviously, you want to give him as much attack power as possible. But as I mentioned, he is incredibly squishy, so it may actually be more favorable to give him just lots of stamina. You know, stamina first, damage second, just so if he happens to take a hit before Braum or Alawi can step in, then it won't be dire. But through his offensive capabilities, Yasuo is proficient at dealing with single targets, groups, and even situations such as damaging stealth enemies while an unstealthed enemy is targetable. But however you choose to use Yasuo, you know that he is the weapon of choice against the hordes pitted against you. Thanks for checking out this video. If you enjoyed, I appreciate doing all of the YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. And I'll talk to y'all next time.